Hello, creators, and welcome to the Creator Toolbox, where we share with you many of the platform features for ServiceNow developers and admins to get the most out of the platform. And we have a special treat today. We are going to be covering the brand new, soon to be released, actually I should probably say that, it's still a couple of days out. Caveat, hashtag safe harbor, blah, blah, blah. We are going to be taking a look at the mobile app builder. Well, I'll be taking a look at it, but we have some subject matter experts here to introduce themselves. Go ahead, David.
Thanks, Chuck. My name's David Murch. I'm a product manager with ServiceNow on our mobile platform team with responsibilities for our mobile builder products. So I'll be giving an overview and a demo of the new mobile app builder tool today to share it with you and get you started on your journey.
And I think you're one of our few returning guests on this show.
This is my third opportunity. It's been great.
Awesome.
Wow.
Welcome back.
We're gonna have to hire you.
Honorary team member.
And our other honorary team member.
Hi, my name is Rayan. I'm product designer for the mobile builder team.
Short and sweet. And our regular guest, Earl.
Hi, everyone. I'm Earl Duque. I am the newest developer advocate on the team at ServiceNow. I was a customer beforehand, did development for mostly higher ed, and I joined the platform in late 2017. Yeah.
And I'm Brad Tilton. I'm a senior developer advocate with the developer program here at ServiceNow. I've been developing on the platform for a long time, and I'm excited to see what we've got today.
And finally, my name is Chuck Tomasi, senior developer advocate. Like Brad, long time on the platform. We'll keep it short because there's just so much goodness we want to share with you today. If you want a longer intro, go watch some other video. So I think at this point, we'll turn it over to David and Rayan.
Thanks again, Chuck. So again, today we're going to introduce our mobile app builder product. And this is a new creator tool from ServiceNow, specifically for configuring our native iOS and Android applications. We've decided to go down the path of creating a new tool because the existing toolkits we have some pros and they have some cons. You may be familiar, you might have experience with just using Platform UI, kind of ServiceNow standard lists and forms, or you might have experience with Mobile Studio to configure applications on the platform. Both of those tools have their good points. Platform UI allows you to do everything that mobile platform can handle. Full capabilities, full flexibilities. But it can be a challenge sometimes learning how to use the tool, and there's not a lot of built-in help along the way. Studio, on the other hand, gives you a nice, efficient, consolidated view of configuration options, helps guide you along the path for what you're trying to build, but it's very limited. Its base architecture prevents us from being able to support all the different options that mobile platform has to offer. So with that, we wanted to introduce this new tool specifically to provide a dev environment that has the scalability and flexibility to support all mobile platform features, and over the course of the journey, to do it in a way that is very user-friendly and makes things easier to configure. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce you to the tool. I'm going to share my screen here, and you'll see just a standard ServiceNow instance. You'll log in. Mobile App Builder is a admin or delegated developer tool, and you can find it by searching for it in the left-hand filter, just like you would most other tools or applications. So I'm going to search for Mobile App Builder. It comes up underneath the System Mobile section here.
David, can you make your font just a little larger?
Sure, absolutely.
Much appreciated.
Yep. So this is going to open the tool in a new browser tab. And once this loads up, I'll zoom in a little bit and we'll make sure that looks good.
There we go.
Does that look a little better?
Yes. I mean, obviously, we don't want to distort and be missing modal buttons or something, but we'll encounter those when we get to them.
Yeah. I'll tweak as necessary along the way. So this is our opening screen for Mobile App Builder. We call it the application scope screen. And if you're familiar again with Mobile Studio, very similar experience, the first thing you have to do is select an application scope that you want to work in. Unlike Mobile Studio, we can edit any application scope that the user has access to. Studio was restricted because of the limitations. So things like the Now Mobile scope couldn't be edited, but here in Mobile App Builder, we can edit Now Mobile, and I'm going to use that as my vehicle for the demo today. On screen, we also have a couple quick links that are helpful for builders. We have a link that goes straight to our mobile platform product documentation. It'll open that in a new browser tab. You can click down here on the Go to Product Documentation button for that. Or you can come up to the question mark and do the same thing. And this question mark you'll see is on every single screen inside Mobile App Builder. So you've always got a way to access product documentation if you need it as a reference. We also have a link to our mobile card builder tool, which if you've watched previous Creator Toolbox episodes, you would have seen 2 different overviews of mobile card builder with the tools there. And again, we have the link here to make it easier to get to our sibling tools if the user wants to. So now I'm going to continue the tour of the builder. And again, I'm going to edit the Now Mobile scope because that's one of our most frequently requested items is we need to be able to edit Now Mobile in the builders. Why can't we edit Now Mobile in Studio? So I want to highlight that we can do that here in Mobile App Builder. So when I open the scope, I'm going to land on our category home screen. And there's a couple of things to highlight here. One is you can see the scope that you're in. We have it listed in the upper left. And if you want to go back to that previous screen, you hit the change scope button and that'll take you back out. So if you want to work in a different scope, you can switch that way. Down the left-hand side, we have different categories for records. We've taken the most common records that people work on and tried to put them into intuitive categories. We land you on the screens category, and that's where you're going to find things like list screens, record screens, launcher screens. We put you there because, again, we're trying to get you funneled into where the majority of work is done. We have the other categories we have are mobile app configs, where you actually can edit the layout, the overall layout of the mobile application. So again, you'd come in and it's going to be the things that make up the navigation bar and these tabs underneath. In our cards and icons section, we have access to all of the icon records in the scope, all of the card records and card template records in the scope. So again, it's kind of putting all of those visual assets into one category so you can get to them quickly. Functions is where we have all of the function records, or SysSG button if you're familiar with table names. And then data is where you can build your data items. Again, those are all the top level records. And you'll see once I open up a record that we have a structured hierarchy that lets you navigate that parent level record and all of its children. But if you don't want to do that, if you don't want to dive in and dive out, you want to go straight to a specific record, we have the all mobile records category as well. And when you come here, you can pick any table in the mobile platform table schema, and you can select a specific table and it will show you all the records for that table. So if you just want to find one specific record on one specific table, you can come to all mobile records and dive straight on into it. One other item to highlight on all of these table views, the name columns and the type columns are sortable by clicking. So again, if you're in cards and icons and you want to sort this so that you can get to your cards easily, you can do that. Or you can use the search bar to filter down to a specific record if you know the name of it. And that search is a contained search for both name and type columns. So if you wanted just to filter out all the other types and just look at icons, you could do that as well. So now I'd like to take you into the record configuration experience. And to do that, I'm going to go into our Now Mobile app config. This represents the highest level of mobile platform application records. And you'll see here on the left-hand side, we have that hierarchy fully defined out in the content tree. And we have it in a hierarchical manner. So you can see where records are children of other records. So we have an indent every time you're going into another descendant of a record. On this configuration tree, you can use this to navigate directly to a record without having to drill in like you do in Platform UI. You know, for example, if I wanted to come down and look at this launcher screen record, if I did that in Platform UI from the mobile app config, I'd have to open the navigation bar, wait for that screen to load. I'd have to open the navigation tab, wait for that screen to load, and then I'd have to open the launcher screen and wait for that screen to load. Here in Mobile App Builder, I can come right down to the screen that I want, click on it, and I'm going to get that screen's configuration loaded up immediately. So that's going to save time and make it easier to find the records that you're looking for. Also on the configuration tree, we have the ability to make it larger or make it narrower if you want to focus your effort or focus your work. Again, if you need to really take a good long look at this configuration tree and see how things are structured, find a specific record, you can drag that wide and get a good view. Or if you want to get it out of the way so you can focus on that center config panel, you can do that as well.
David, do we have the ability to expand or collapse any part of that tree?
We don't right now. That's an enhancement we're currently looking at.
Okay.
The base component we used was a little limited in that capability, didn't meet the use cases we wanted. So we're looking to customize that. And towards the end of the presentation today, I'm going to touch on our future plans and highlight kind of like when we might be looking at that. So it's on our roadmap, Chuck. Just it won't be in the first version that releases this week.
You're reading my mind.
So you said base component. That means that this is all built in the Now Experience framework, right?
Correct.
Cool.
And I also understood that if you've got App Engine licensing and you're using App Engine Studio, you can use the mobile app builder within AES. Is that still correct?
That is correct. So the interface you're seeing that we've looked at so far would be opened up inside of a tab inside App Engine Studio.
Much like Flow Designer.
Yes, that's a very good example.
But yeah, you could still use mobile app builder if you didn't have App Engine licensing. So just wanted to clarify that from a
that's a
what
really
do I
good
get
point,
and what
Chuck.
do I have standpoint.
Yep, really good point. Mobile App Builder is not a it's a free product. It's available for all instances, for all users that are given permissions, right? It's by default, it's an admin level tool. But as I said, you can delegated developers can access it as well. But it's free for everyone. It's available in the ServiceNow store, but eventually we're going to have it as a core plugin and it'll be automatically installed as well. Any other quick questions there?
Nope.
Okay. So let's talk about the rest of our config panel here for this record. On the right-hand side, we have what we call our mobile interface example. And this is meant to give you kind of a flavor of the record that you're working on. So for example, I'm on a launcher screen and we're giving you an example of what a launcher screen would look like. If instead I were to click on an icon, we're going to show you again different places that icons are used and how they can look. So for example, if it's used on an input, it would look like this. If it's used for the navigation bar, we're talking about icons showing up here, top menus, icons showing up here. And you'll see that as we click through different records, we're going to give you a preview that is tailored to the record you're on and kind of tries to ground you in where that record influences the UI. Now this, I'm gonna jump right in front of this one. This is also something that we're going to continuously enhance as we go. The long-term vision for this product is to have a full-blown emulator built into it so that we don't have to pull up our phones or pull up a mobile emulator to check our work as we go. That is absolutely in our long-term vision. I know that question was going to come up, so I figured I'd just jump right on it. So finishing out our journey here on the mobile app builder layout and how it works. The center of every record screen is going to be dedicated to that specific records, fields, and references configuration. So if you've done work in Platform UI, this is going to be very, very familiar because these configuration panels map directly to the forms you fill out for records in Platform UI. So for example, I'm on a launcher screen record. I have the fields to fill in the name and the title and choose if it's active. In our settings here, I have the ability to make it available offline or not and to add a header title. I can choose my function instances and configure those. I can do search configurations. I can do launcher sections, quick action functions. So all the same things you can configure on that form in Platform UI, you can do here. But along with the parity, We also have guidance text that's going to help you understand the specific record you're working on, what it's used for. In certain areas, we have guidance text on the record references so that you can see or get a little bit of help as to what that particular reference does. And again, we have those scattered throughout the app on all the different config panels. The last thing that I want to highlight here before I get into the actual editing experience, we have our menu option up here. When you're on a record, if you click that open, you're going to get the listing of the record label. So we're on a launcher screen, and what table name that actually correlates to. So syssg applet launcher. So that way, if again, you're very familiar with platform UI and you're trying to understand, okay, what does this map to in platform UI? Every single config panel will have that reference to help you make those mental maps if you need to. We also have a button that would open this record in platform UI. Again, if you wanted to look at it in the standard listen forms, we can directly link you to that. And then if you want to delete a record, it's available there too. We have all the standard, you hit delete, and we're going to ask you for confirmation to make sure you're not accidentally doing a unreversible action that you don't want to do. So now I'd like to get into how you use this to build mobile applications and edit mobile applications. So again, we're in our Now Mobile app config, that top level record for the Now Mobile native client. And what I would like to do, and I'm going to bring back my emulator here, I'm going to show how we can add a list screen in a record section between our top media section here and our icon section here. So I'm going to create that record section. I'm going to create the list, and I'm going to insert it here, and then we'll refresh and we'll see how that looks. So to do that, first things first, I'm going to find my launcher screen, which I'm already on. I'm going to come down to my launcher sections. And again, there's already two here. There's the icon section that had the different list icons, and then that media section. So I've got a choice here. I can choose an existing UI section, or I can create a new one. If I wanted to use an existing one, I can hit the choose button. It's going to open up a new modal. And this is going to list all the UI section records that I have access to. So again, if you're a delegated developer that has access to one or two scopes, you're only going to see the records that are in those scopes. As an admin, I can see records from all scopes. And if I wanted to find something specific, again, I can sort my columns, or I can search using the search bar.
Oh, that's new. I wasn't aware you could use a UI section from another app scope.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It seems like there's a bit of risk involved with that if things get out of sync.
Well, you're not going to run into a problem with things getting out of sync. The real risk is just if you reference them in two different places, you have to remember that, right? Because if you then go and edit it in one location, it's going to change it in the other location as well. And there's pluses and minuses to that. You can minimize the amount of work by not having to duplicate work if you truly want to reuse components. But there is that risk of, oh, I forgot that I used that in two places, and when I changed it in one, I wasn't thinking about it changing it in the other. So yeah, definitely something to be aware of. So in this situation, though, I'm going to create a new section. So I'm going to hit the new button, and this is going to be of like the standard flow for all create new along the way. So what you're going to get is a lot of similar flow when working in mobile app builder, and we'll be able to show it to you all in this example. So I'll hit new, and this particular record type has a couple different options. I'm going to choose the record section because that's the type I want to use. And when I hit continue, what's going to happen now is I'm put on a new fresh config panel, and that new record is added to the configuration tree. So you'll see it here underneath as a child of the launcher screen. Got the new record section showing up here. And then a couple other things I want to highlight. In our configuration tree, we now have these indicator icons. The red icon is an indication that this record has a required field we haven't filled in yet. That's going to be our destination screen down here. And then the orange icon is an indication that I've got an unsaved change. because mobile app builder lets you work on multiple records at one time, I'm going to continue moving through this hierarchy and adding these records. So the content tree will let you see or give you a reminder of the things that you have edited and haven't saved yet. So again, it's just a quick reference. As I continue here, I'm gonna make this list screen. It's going to be a list of coworkers' contact information. So I'm going to call this my coworkers list screen or record section. And then again, when I come down to the destination screen, I could choose an existing or create a new, and I'm gonna go ahead and create new. And I'm going to call this one my coworkers list screen. Just left list screen in there instead of clearing it out. And again, as we go, you'll see where I've got these required fields, I get the red icon and the asterisk on the input, and it shows up in the configuration tree as well. When I populate this icon record using my address book icon, we update. You can see it referenced in the table here. It's added to the configuration tree, and now my list screen no longer has that unpopulated required field, so that indicator goes away. Continuing on down the journey here, I'm going to move a little bit quicker because as you'll see, a lot of this is very similar workflow. Coworkers, very similar workflow for creating these records. I've got my screen segment now. I'm going to add my list stream. Now I'm going to go and create my data item. I'm going to build this off of the user table, and we have a standard table input here, or table picker, I should say. And we do offer throughout Mobile App Builder the different condition types that mobile platform supports. So I could do a condition script input if I wanted to, or I can do a declarative condition builder, which is the option I'm going to go with. And for the demo to look really nice, I'm going to make sure that the avatar field on my entries is populated with a picture, so that we don't have any empty icons. We have nice pictures. So I'm going to go avatar is not empty. And I'm going to sort by first name. So I'm going to add a sort first name, make that ascending. Now I have to go back up to my list stream and add my list item config. And again, remember, I haven't saved anything yet. I've been able to work on all these records without saving. And one of the key takeaways there is we avoid the modal in modal experience in platform UI and the potential of running into like a dead end where I need a child record that I haven't yet created, but I can't create it because I got too many modals open in platform. So that's one of the big advantages of being able to work through multiple records without saving. So I'm going to add my list item config. And I have to reference the same table there. So user table. And I'm going to use an existing card, my coworker's card. And I'm going to use an existing embedded screen, coworker's record screen. And so now I've built out my list screen. The last thing I need to do, and I always forget this step when I'm going through the demo, on going back up to my launcher screen, I added that record section, and I wanted to add it in between the two existing record sections. So I have to come in here and I have to change the order of my record sections because by default, when you create a new one, it just puts it at the bottom. So I'm going to click on my order field here. I'm going to change that to 2. And now it'll show up in between the two sections. So all that work is done. I've got all of my unsaved changes still showing up there. I'm going to actually, let me pull that open. So now when I hit save, all of those records are saved at once. I've got a nice success message, and my configuration tree, we don't have any more icons or indicators because everything has been saved. So now when I go back over to my mobile app and refresh.
And David, is that save per session? Can I refresh? Can I come back to it?
So the save, when you hit the save button, it's going to persist to the database. So if you then refresh you're going to get all of the stuff that you've done and saved is going to be reloaded. And I'll kind of talk through that in a little bit more depth here in just a second. But as you can see, we've got our record section now in our mobile app. We've got our nice little cards here. We've fully functional list screen because I can go to the full list view. I can click on a record and show the detail screen. So again, that's the experience for creating and editing records here in Mobile App Builder. That flow of adding new records in line and working through them and saving multiple records at once, that's going to be consistent across all record types on mobile platform. So now to touch a little bit more on some of those scenarios of I haven't saved and what happens if I refresh, or what if I'm trying to do something that's a cross scope configuration, I do want to highlight those a little bit. So for example, if I came in here and made a change to this record, again, I'm going to have my save button is now active. That's another indication that you've got unsaved changes. I've got my icon in the config tree there. But if I were then to like try and navigate away from this without having saved my records, if I hit the home button to go back to the categories, or if I hit the browser refresh, I'm going to get prompted, a little warning that says, hey, you haven't saved your changes yet. Do you want to do that? You want to leave and abandon them, or do you want to cancel and come back and save? We also do support cross-scope configuration in Mobile App Builder. That was a feature we could not support in Mobile Studio. So this will be a very similar experience to what you might be familiar with in Platform UI. If you come in and you click on a record that lives in a different scope, that record's config panel is going to be displayed in a read-only state. You won't be able to edit anything, but you get the banner at the top that lets you know what's going on. And if you want to edit in the original scope, you click the button to do so. That's going to unlock this individual record. You can then make changes and save. And again, if you make a change, because we're dealing with this one record at a time, if I try to navigate away from it, again, you're going to be prompted with, hey, you need to save before you do that. I'm going to go ahead and cancel. I don't want to save that change right now. There's one other aspect of this I'd like to point out. So with our current configuration tree, we do have some floors in the tree at strategic points to do two things. Improve our loading times, our screen load times, but also keep this configuration tree from getting too big and distracting. If you remember, when I built out that list screen, everything got added in as I went because we wanted to show you all the records that you were working on. But if we look at another list screen in this same configuration tree, like our browse list screen here, you'll see that there's no children underneath it. And that's, again, mainly to keep this configuration tree from being so big that you really can't use it. So what we do here is, we know that some people might want to come in and edit this screen. So when you click on that record, we do give you the option to open it in a new screen. So if you want to see this record's children, you can hit the open record to edit. That's going to take you to a fresh screen, and it's going to load that record's complete configuration tree in the right hand with all of his children, or I'm sorry, in the left hand with all of his children. Now that is another item that we're looking to enhance. We really like the idea of being able to add that, like if I want to look at this browse list screen, I want to be able to add it to this existing config tree so that I can stay in my, in my current hierarchy. So that's an enhancement we're looking at adding in our next version, actually. So those are some of the nuances to the saving and unsaved changes and navigating away from unsaved changes, cross scope, things of that nature. And that really brings my demo today to an end. So I think before I wrap it up, I'll see if there's any additional questions, and then I would like to highlight a little bit of what we're planning on doing going forward.
So David, I mentioned this in the chat, but I noticed that a lot of our terminology has changed, and there's a docs article that lists all the changes that I posted in the chat. But do you have a couple of anything real quick you want to say about the why we changed the terminology?
Yeah, and I appreciate that question. That's a good topic to highlight. So we changed some record labels in the Rome release. We did this at the back end, or in the back end, I should say. So things like a form screen, we have updated that name to be a record screen now, because using this as an example, because we were trying to update our table labels to fit a more intuitive taxonomy, a more intuitive mental model. So again, using form as an example, when we looked at the actual functionality of the SysSG form screen in ServiceNow's mobile platform, it's really not a form in the same way that it is in ServiceNow Web or in other tools. Generally speaking, a form is a screen where you can input data, where the SysSG form screen in mobile platform is really just displaying information. And you can display fields for the record in question. You can display the activity stream for it. You can display related lists. So we felt that record screen was a better name or a better label for that, for people that were going to be joining us on this journey. Mobile's still young at ServiceNow, and we know that we've got a lot more people that are still going to be joining us on that journey. We want to make it as easy for them as they're coming in as possible. So yeah, we updated, I want to say somewhere in the neighborhood of like 60 table labels, and there's currently like 170 or something tables in mobile platform. So it was about a third. Wasn't everything, but it was targeted to really try and help make, as we all learn the new labels, to make it more intuitive. We didn't change the names. So SysSG form screen is still SysSG form screen, because changing that would have caused a lot of other downstream effects with like updating and legacy versions and things like that. But we felt the labels was what was really important, especially with our vision of having all the work done in Mobile App Builder going forward. So again, I appreciate that question. There is a piece of documentation on the actual label changes, and we're going to be updating our documentation here over the next couple months to use all the new taxonomy, but also still have like references back to the old, just as for example, like this is a record screen formerly known as a form screen, that sort of thing.
It'll be good Jeopardy questions in the future.
Yeah. Yeah. I used to be known as a form screen at ServiceNow. What is record screen?
Yeah, I think the biggest change that I saw was basically applet to screen. So anything that was an applet before, we're now calling it a screen. I think once you get that down, the rest of it kind of flows pretty easily.
And David, you mentioned, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying that's a good example of where we actually had mixed terminology across Platform UI and Mobile Studio, because they were applets in Mobile Studio. The label was applet in Platform UI, but the table name was actually like list screen, for example. So we felt by going back to screens, again, it was outside of ServiceNow, nobody knows what an applet is, but people understand what screens are. So that's why we wanted to kind of go back to that screens terminology, go back to what the actual table name was in that example. So yeah, that's another really good example. I appreciate you bringing it up.
Great.
You mentioned a few things that we were looking at changing in upcoming releases. Any other hints at what might be in San Diego, Tokyo, and beyond?
So the journey for Mobile App Builder is a multi-phase journey. We're in phase 1 right now, and that's going to be the Rome and San Diego releases. So one of the reasons I wanted to come back to the category level is we don't yet support 100% of the mobile platform tables in Mobile App Builder. So if I were to try and open up a record, for example, that we don't support yet, you're going to get a generic. We don't yet support this. You can open it in Platform UI. And I want to say, like, I know I've got one in here. So like global search, we don't have support for that yet. So you're given kind of this generic config form with links to open it in platform UI. That's a temporary state. We currently support about 2/3 of the mobile platform tables. Some of the big ones that we don't yet support are like media sections and launchers, chart screens and chart sections and launchers, calendar screens, map screens. Those are on deck for development in San Diego. So mobile app builder version 1 is releasing in 2 days. Yeah, on the 16th. Mobile app builder version 1.2, or the next version, we're planning for November, but that's going to be mainly like UX improvements. So like those improvements to the config tree that I was talking about, being able to load records into the tree rather than having to navigate away. And then in February, to coincide with the San Diego EA release, we are planning on another version of App Builder where we will finish out the config panels for all mobile platform records up to that point. So you'll have, with that EA version, you'll have the ability to configure anything that exists Rome and earlier. And then very, very quickly after that, probably around the GA release for San Diego, we'll have all the San Diego tables in. And then at that point, mobile app builder will have full feature parity with what mobile platform can do. And that's something we were never, ever, ever able to achieve in Mobile Studio over years and years and years. And we're going to be able to do that within the first 3 releases for mobile app builder. So that's really excited about that. Once we achieve that parity and support everything in mobile app builder, we're then going to start focusing on making the tool easier, faster, and smarter. We want to start folding in things like guided configurations. So if you're familiar with like Guided App Creator or the wizard tools that are in App Engine Studio, where you have like 3-4 screens, you answer a couple questions, and then we build all the records for you in the background. We want to build those in for all of the most commonly used tools or the more complex components in mobile. We want to have starter templates. So we had this concept in Mobile Studio where you could do like a list screen, an employee directory, or a grouped list. And those are all really list screens, just with different card views, pre-built card views. So expanding on that, taking some of the more common use cases and pre-building a template so that you can get it built for you really quick, and then go in and make like the minor edits that you need on top of it. We want to, as I mentioned, as I teased, we want a full-blown emulator in the tool so that you can, while you're working on configurations, you can see what the what it's going to look like on Android, what it's going to look like on iOS, what it'll look like on a phone, what it'll look like on a tablet. To be able to look at all those environments and see your changes in real time in the tool, not needing a separate tool. And then lastly, we really want to leverage the strength of ServiceNow's artificial intelligence and machine learning capabilities to give like real-time guidance when admins are configuring. Imagine you're working on a list screen and you get a checklist that shows you what you still need to do. We're like telling you, hey, you still got to do these steps if you want to make what you're trying to make. Or even better, pop it up to the admin. You've got a screen here that your users are going to over and over and over again, but it's buried four button touches deep in the mobile app. Why not bring that up to its own navigation tab at the top of the app so it's easier to get to? So that's where we want to go with the product. We're going to start that journey in Tokyo, and it's going to be an ongoing evolution from that point on.
All right, thank you.
Awesome.
So yeah, that really kind of brings to a close what I had planned on touching on today. So Chuck, I thank you for your time as always and letting us highlight our tools here. And as we have more enhancements on Mobile App Builder, I'd love to come back and share those with everyone that's watching.
Our pleasure. Just kind of glancing, see if there's, I don't see any additional questions in the chat. Thank you, David. Thank you, Rayan, for all your hard work. And we're very excited to get our hands on this. We will be doing more with Mobile App Builder on Friday's live coding happy hour. So hope you can join us for that as well.
Wonderful.
Any final announcements, gentlemen? It's not a quiet time for us. We've got podcasts, we've got more videos, we've got lots of other great stuff. So stick around and be part of the community. So till next time, we will talk to you again real soon and wish everybody all the best and stay safe.
Thank you.
Thanks all.